Titanic and it's all of its sisters. And maybe something else, maybe, and stuff. But if you guys are wondering why I've been gone for a long time, it's because I've been live streaming on Twitch and stuff, and I've been getting a lot of views, more than on YouTube and stuff. So I'm gonna be doing a history video, why not? So first I'm gonna start with the Titanic. Titanic sunk April 14th, it set sail April 14th, 1912. It was pulled so it would get out in the ocean quicker by tugboats. And then I'm gonna do a portrait. I don't want to sound like on a YouTube video, I don't know what the hell of history. Okay guys, I'm back. So I didn't really want to talk with more people because I'll just be nervous that they're making fun of me, or like, I don't know, I want to annoy them with history. So, Game Master, alright, who cares? But, there's a game tag called Game Master. He's right here. But, so the Titanic set sail April 14, 1912. It was hooked up by tugboats so it could get out in the ocean quicker. Two or three tugboats. And then April 16, 1912. And the Titanic set sail. I'm confused. So I'll just get to the sinking. So the Titanic ended up striking an iceberg. And then, but it was called the unsinkable ship because it had 4 water-type compartments, so it should seal the water so it can't fill up the whole
I gotta get out of here.
But then
now.
The water, they didn't close the water compartments in time, so then it flooded the first class area. It struck around the first class, and didn't end up sinking. Well, it got hit. What the Jason? Oh, wow. But so it struck near probably the first class area because it got struck in the front of the ship, and that's where the first class was. So they struck near the first class, and then it had war-type compartments, but they didn't shut them in time. So then the water, it had so much weight on the front of the ship that it pulled the ship down. So then the captain directed everyone to get on lifeboats. So they filled up women and children first. They had 20 lifeboats, because it was the unsinkable ship, so they didn't want to take up all their space with just the lifeboats in case. So then when the Molly Brown was on the Titanic, she was a passenger and she's a woman on the ship, and then she got into a lifeboat, I forget what number, and then she forced the captain on the lifeboat to go back and save the others, and then somehow captain, and then actually nothing with the captain with that part of the story, but then so they all attached together and stuff. So then people who was underwater came back to get people who are still alive, and it took a few hours, but only like 2 or 4 people survived for that long, and then the Carpathia saved the Carpathia saved the people on the lifeboats, but the Olympic was actually one of the sisters. And the Olympic went through a lot of stuff, but then it eventually sunk, which I don't remember a story about it, but it was very far from the Titanic. They contacted Olympic, but Olympic was actually one of the sisters, and they were gonna go. They were zooming full speed, but they knew it wouldn't work. They wouldn't get there in time. So then they called a few other ships. Still wouldn't be there in time. So then the Carpathia was the closest. So the Carpathia went, and then the sunset. By the time the Carpathia ended up, it was new. What was it? It was in the morning. It was probably like 6 when the sun was just rising. The Carpathia arrived.
I gotta find the others.
Then the survivors ended up getting on the Carpathia. They made it to New York. But the first newspaper that came out that the Titanic sunk, it said no one was harmed, no one died, everyone survived. But that newspaper was wrong. Because, well, they didn't have good technology back then, so it wouldn't, because if they did, then it would be wrong. Okay, but they didn't have like good technology back then, so those things were pretty easy to happen and stuff. But then it showed the lives lost on the Titanic. And now I'm gonna move on to Botanic. But I'm just gonna move on Botanic because I don't really know nothing but Lusitania, except there's a ship that held loads of guns during World War I. And then it got torpedoed by a German U-boat or a German sub. But Botanic used to be a cruise ship, but then it was gonna be a cruise ship, but it used to be a cruise ship, but then it ended up, the governor wanted it to be a ship to deliver injured passengers, injured warriors during World War I to a camp where they would be treated right and be able to get help and then be helped out, so then they can get back together and they can pull themselves together and get back into war. But then it ended up sinking. It ended up sinking because there's a big debate if it was, but it was hit by mine. It was hit by mine. Some people think it was torpedoed by a German sub, but that wouldn't. But it ended up getting. But it was definitely mined, because that's what they have in the movie. A lot of people think it's mines, and so it kind of makes sense that it was a mine. So it hit a mine, it sunk. Well, it rose the propellers on the ship. So then, in the water current was going straight towards the propellers. So some of the lifeboats are going towards it, which chopping up the passengers and the lifeboats to pieces. And the people who were swimming in there actually were feeling the body parts of people who have been chopped up. But then Botanic ended up sinking fully. It sunk in the Pacific Ocean. It was November 21st, 1916. But April 14th, 1912 is the Titanic date. And what was 1912 was the year in 1916 is the year of Botanic. It was in the Titanic sunk in the North Atlantic Ocean, and the Botanic sunk in the Pacific Ocean. And So I just did Titanic and Botanic. Maybe next episode, if I do feel like doing a history episode, maybe I'll do I'll gather up info about Botanic. I mean, not Botanic, Lusitania and Olympic. And then next video, I'll do maybe some research on Costa Concordia and maybe a few other ships. So thanks guys, I hope you enjoyed the video.